Hello, good morning, everyone. Welcome back into the AM show. Now, guys, we're about to start an amazing interview with one and only Sal Rodriguez. And his high energy heartbeat is behind the legendary band War, where he's been holding down the rhythm section for over 3 decades. Known for his explosive stage presence and his infectious spirit, Sal's musical journey has taken him from jamming with legends like Carlos Santana and Aretha Franklin to TV and movie appearances. But beyond drums, Sal is a devoted family man, a community advocate, and someone who just wants to make people smile. So without further ado, welcome to the show, Sal. Hello, hello. Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Yeah, so happy to have you on the show. Now, where are you joining us from, actually?
From California. I live in a town called Silmar, California, which is a San Fernando Valley, and it's like 30 minutes north of Los Angeles and 15 minutes north of Burbank. So,
hey, perfect. I know that exact area. Absolutely gorgeous. Well, double thank you for getting up so early to join us out here, because we're on the East Coast time here. So very early there. Now, we have a lot to get into in terms of everything that you've accomplished and everything that you have done in your career and your personal life. You have such an illustrious career. And I just want to know, to kick things off, what was your first memory of falling in love with music, and how did you pick up the drums?
picking up the drums at a, a very early age. I mean, my father played drums, and my godfather, they had a band, and so there was a drum set, around the house, and I just happened to get on it one day and just said, "Man, this looks like it's going to be fun." And, at a very early age, around probably around 9 years old, getting on a drum set and watching my uncle play too. My uncle was the one that kind of catapulted me and getting me started. Once I saw him play one day, I said, "Wow, I want to do that." Then that's how I started.
That's incredible.
That is so amazing. That's incredible. I mean, it's one thing to see the drums, right, and say, wow, this looks fantastic, I want to do it. And it's another thing to actually be able to have the talent to go forward and do it. So did you find learning the drums, did it come easy to you, or was it a little bit more challenging?
Um, it, I think it came pretty easy because I don't know. I just mimic what I saw, and back then, I didn't think of things of just being complicated. I just loved the music and started playing through the records. I couldn't afford lessons, so you get the 45s and you just play it on the stereo. And once after the song's finished, you go back over there and flip the record over. For those of you who don't know what 45s, it's a little wax, it's a little record, and it's one song.
Yeah, you're spinning the single over and over.
Spinning a single over and over and over. Then when you wore it out, you put a nickel on it, on the head, so it won't skip anymore. But I wore a lot of those records out and had a lot of fun doing that.
That's amazing. Now, Sal, there's a point, right, where you start off and it's almost in the beginning when you're very young, it's a hobby, and it's just like, I'm just having fun doing this. Can you tell us about how does this transition now into you standing out and starting to be like, wow, okay, I have a really high level of talent and acumen for this, and eventually I would start to say you start getting booked. Can you describe how that transition went?
Well, I mean, it's it's a long process, as you know. I mean, just with this group right now, with this group that I'm in War, it's just going to be my 35th year, and the group's been in existence since 1970, 69, and the original drummer for this group his name is Harold Brown. So, I took after his place, and he's a friend of mine, and I love them all the original guys, and without those guys, man, this music wouldn't be existing. So I give my props to them, and just carrying on the great legacy of this music.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, war is huge, and we're going to get into that, but I think it's kind of like, where's that transition of you learn the drums, you're doing gigs, you're putting yourself out there, and then you connect with war. How did that happen? How did they find you? How were you able to get that drumming position with the band?
Well, before that, I mean, starting off, at an early age, and you start working with different groups. And before I joined War, I was with this group called Tierra, which is a group out of Los Angeles, and they had a smash hit out in 1980 called Together, and took them all the way to Carnegie Hall and stuff like that. So me being with several groups like the El Chicano and Tierra and these groups from Los Angeles, we would do shows together with War and stuff, so we became friends. And at one point, they were playing at a place called the Strand in Redondo Beach, and I just looking through the paper, and I said, "Oh, War's going to be at Redondo Beach, and I'm off that weekend." So what I did is I called the drummer up, say, "Hey, man, I'm off that weekend. I just want to come and play percussion. I don't want to get paid, and I just want to play." And he says, "I'll call you back." And so he called me back like 5 minutes later. He says, "Bring your stuff." So I brought my stuff, and they liked what they heard, and lo and behold, I'm still here 35 years later,
Wow.
and so that's how that transition came about. But it's an amazing journey how fast time flies, man. My goodness,
Yeah.
I was 2 years old when I joined the band.
See, you had that talent right away. I knew it. I knew it.
I was a toddler.
You were a toddler, right? You were a toddler, just running around in diapers.
Mozart.
Yeah, right. I'm still running. Now I'm going to still run around diapers.
Oh, that's too funny. That's too funny. Now, Sal, what was your first group actually that you played in? As far as the band.
My first touring group was fresh out of high school. Of course I did all the practicing with my high school friends and playing all those great songs from Hendrix to the Beatles to, as you can see, the Beatles. Big fan of the Beatles, and Cream and all these groups, Chicago and Tower Power. Just playing these songs growing up as a kid, man, and playing all these clubs and backyard parties. Back then, we didn't care about money or anything. We wanted an audience, and we practice and oh, there's a party. Somebody needs a band. Okay, let's go. Whoa, go over there, and we didn't worry about money, nothing. We just played. We had an audience, so that's how I started working. And I mean, not working, but just playing, in front of people, audience, and but my first group, and oh yeah, I was during high school and even middle school, they called it junior high back then. My godfather was telling me they had a group, my dad. So my dad couldn't play drums anymore on the weekends because he worked construction. It was hard for him, so they asked me to play drums, and so I was working like 3 nights a week during middle school and working at these bars. But the reason I was able to work at these bars because they had a restaurant, and so they would during the breaks they would make me go to the restaurant and just wait.
Wait, you're in middle school and you're booked on gigs during the week.
During the weekend, I was making like $20 a night back in the 1970. I was going like, that's pretty good,
Yeah, good for. And
make a career out of this.
I was just gonna say, moments like that, you're like, hang on, this is all that I want to do. Is that what it was?
Yeah, I knew from an early age that's all I want to do. Nobody told me you have to practice, you have to do this, you have to, I used to run home from school. I used to carry my albums. I used to, take my Jimi Hendrix albums and, Chicago, Sly and the Family Stone, kind of show off, you know what I mean? They always wanted to borrow them. Hey, can I borrow your albums? I go, no, you can't.
Those are my albums. They're mine. Now,
and I used to run home just to practice to all this stuff, man, and just like hours and hours and hours. I remember sitting in the living room. We had a big old stereo, once with a little bar and all that stuff. My mom would cooking and washing dishes. And I would be in the living room just blasting that thing, and just I was saying, "Mom, am I too loud?" And she goes, "No." She goes, "No, mijo, I love when you play, because better than me being out there, you know what I mean,
Mm.
causing trouble on the street." So that caught me early, that passion for playing drums, and the support I got from my parents too,
Hmm.
Uh, they never told me, "No, you can't do that. You gotta be a doctor. You gotta do this.
Mm.
Because my dad was a musician, so they knew I wanted to do this, and so that's how I started. But
Yeah.
my first touring group was with a group called Little Joe and La Familia, which is a Tex-Mex group, and they're still around, man. He's considered like the godfather of Tex-Mex music. He has over 100 albums, and
Wow.
he's like the James Brown of Texas.
Mm.
So that's how I started. Fresh out of high school, I was working at this little club in the San Fernando Valley. It's called the Acapulco. I still remember. And so one of the sax players was a studio player, Gary Herbick, and he did big sessions out, for movies and Elvis Presley and all these big sessions. And he was working with us on the weekend. At that time we bumped it up, man. We were making $30 an hour now.
There you
Hey.
go.
Yeah, moving on up, right? So, so he goes, "Hey, Little Joe's in town, man. He's looking for a drummer." And we were playing that kind of music too, Tejano music, cumbias, and little R&B and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He said he's gonna come in town because he moved to California to try to make it in Tejano music in California. So he said he's in town. He's looking for a drummer, and he might come to the club tonight. And I go, "Yeah, sure. What's the chances of him coming?" And sure enough, he did. He came,
Wow.
and he liked what he heard. He says, "Hey, I need a drummer. You want to go on the road?" And I'm just fresh out of high school, and I look at the band leader, and he goes, "Go for it." He goes, "Because if he asked me, I would go too." I go,
Yeah.
okay, and that's how I started touring with him, and first time being on a plane, first time being on, away from home, and then it was like 3 years. I moved to Texas, and we did so many shows, with different groups that I never even experienced. Tejano music is really different than
Mm.
the music over here, the Mexican music, that I was used to listening to. But it was a great experience, man. To this day, we still keep in touch, and we've done shows together with him, with War and Little Joe. So it's mind blowing that what I mean, we're at this time in our career, and we're still playing music. So that
Yeah.
that was my start with that. And then after Little Joe ended, I came back to California, joined a couple of groups, East Side Connection. We toured all over the country, and it was more of a R&B group. And we had horns, and we got signed to a record label. We were making some noise. And but I think we're too advanced for the music back then, because we didn't really want to go disco, and it was all disco stuff. And then the record company wants to play more like the Bee Gees and disco and stuff like that. This wasn't our thing.
Mm.
Well, I left the group, and then I got called to tour with Jose Feliciano. And I said, wow, it was amazing how that happened. It was just at the baked potato, man. I had a jacket on with the drums on it. Some guy, "Hey, you're a drummer?" And I go, "You play percussion?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Hey, we're looking for a percussionist, and you want to audition?" I go, "Yeah, of course." So I auditioned for that, and I got that too. And I started touring with him, and
Wow. I
that was
mean,
cool.
it's incredible because what it really sounds like, and from some other musicians I've chatted with too, it's a lot of just networking and also just being in the right place at the right time. Of course, you have to have the skill. Of course, you have to be talented. But I feel like networking is like the biggest thing in taking those opportunities.
Yeah, especially back then, because there's no computers, there's no,
Mm.
there's no Wi-Fi, internet, YouTube, nothing. You had to. It was all that legwork, like you said, networking, going down there and knocking on the doors, going to the clubs, letting people know that that you play, you're available, and the word gets out. When you're doing that, and
Yeah.
it just that's it. It's important to network,
Yeah.
And to this day, it still is too, But with this internet, it's crazy how much everything go viral in a second, man, in a minute.
Yeah.
Um, but that's how I started with that, with the Jose Feliciano. And then when that ended, I was working with different groups too, um, then I got called to work with the group Tierra, which was fantastic because there was a home group from Los Angeles on the radio. To me, it was like, wow, some of my people are on the radio. It's very rare, and so it was an honor to work with them for 5 years, and working all these great shows and concerts, and working alongside with all these groups like War and Malo, El Chicano, and just all these R&B groups too, doing concerts. And but that's how it started happening as well with War, how I got that gig when, knocking that door, just
Yeah.
saying available, hey, can I come down? I don't want to get paid.
Hmm.
But and they never told me you're in the band. They still haven't told me I'm in the band.
35 years later, you're still auditioning, right?
I'm still there. It's like, am I in the band or what's going on?
Oh, this is amazing. This
Huge.
is amazing. I'm telling you, Sal, hearing how you have started has been incredible. We're actually, we're going to jump to commercial. And when we come right back, we want to ask you all about War and, and hear more about your story and your transition. And I also want to know some of your personal favorite songs that you have. But this has been amazing. We're going to hop to commercial, AM show. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back with so much more from Sal.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. There he is, the man of the hour, Sal Rodriguez, drummer for War. Welcome back to the show, Sal. Thanks for sticking with us. Now, we have just been chatting so much about your history, how you got into drumming, and how you linked up with the incredible band War. You have been drumming with them for 35 years now. It is quite a journey. It's quite a story. And you even say that being on stage with War is like being at home. And so I just want to know, what keeps that fire burning for you after the shows end that makes you just keep wanting to tour with this iconic band?
Well, it's the fans, really, the music and the iconic music, the classic music, meaning, this music will go on forever, long before I'm gone, and seeing the people sing every song, that the band, this incredible catalog that they've accumulated throughout all the years, you got the iconic Lowrider,
Mm-hmm.
and you got Why Can't We Be Friends, All Day Music, Cisco Kid, The World's Ghetto, Spill the Wine, and we got Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah.
They have a song called Cinco de Mayo, which I performed it this weekend with War, with the LA County Fair, and Kansas City. And then last night I was at a club over here in Redondo Beach. It's called Spaghettini's with Andy Vargas and Billy Mondragon he was a singer from Tierra, but Andy sings with Santana, so they invited me down. So played that Cinco de Mayo on Cinco de Mayo.
Perfect.
It's cool, man. And it's great. It's just the fans, knowing you accumulate fans out there throughout all the years, and everybody's got their favorite, of course. Moi is the most famous one.
There you are.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
No, but I love going out there, signing autographs, going by the merchandise booth, and telling people that we really appreciate you, and they appreciate that too, that you're out there and giving them some love. I mean, that's all we need today. We need a lot of love today, because this world's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Love is definitely all you need. And talking about your fans, they show up for you. We actually have a clip of you guys performing Why Can't We Be Friends? This was from a few years back at one of your anniversary specials. So let's check it out and then talk about it.
Why can't we be friends? Why can't we be friends? I seen you around for a long, long time. I remembered you when you drank my wine. Why can't we be friends? Why
are closing it out with the drums. I mean, they show up in droves for you guys. It's incredible.
Yeah, that was a concert on Venice Beach. You know, they were trying to clean up Venice Beach because there was a lot of homeless situation there. You know, so they did. They cleaned it all up. And who did they hire to come and perform? It was a free concert out there. They had lowriders and you know, it was amazing. Just got the whole community together. You know, and it was great. You know, I love that specific concert because it was giving back to the community, and they came out in droves, and they just loved the music. You know.
Yeah.
I love that. Honestly, what does it feel like to be in an environment like that when everyone's, you know, just showing up and it's such a loving atmosphere, everyone's just singing back on the songs? What type of energy does that feel like when it hits you?
Well, like I said, it's great, man. You know, being in so many different groups, and specifically when you have a band that had so many top 40, you know, radio friendly music hits, you know, and they're all singing. It's crazy, you know, how so people just they all have their favorite song. You know, I like, this is my favorite. That's my. And that was going like, play this one, play that one. We don't have time to play all the music, you know. We need it for 5 hours to play all the songs, you know. But
Yeah.
it's cool, man. I always have my favorite too. You know, my favorite song from Wars is the last song. Never mind.
Oh, it took me a second to
I saw what you did there now. Yep.
Is that mine is the last song?
So they asked me, what's your favorite drum set? I go, my favorite drum set is the one I don't have to carry around and set up.
Yeah.
Because I think people don't realize that, especially when you're first starting out, it's not as easy as a guitar. You just open up the case and you start playing. Drums takes a minute.
Yeah.
Same way you can't really lug a grand piano around with you, right? It'd be a little challenging.
Or just a singer, man, because singers, when growing up in these bands, they didn't even have a microphone; they just show up.
Well, you know,
and late, and they're late and complaining, just like
yeah. There's a lot to it. Well, I mean, on top of just drumming, I'm glad you brought up singing, because you actually also sing a couple of the songs for the band, and we actually have the clip of you singing. So let's check it out and then talk with you.
You hurt me so. Why did you go? You hurt me so. Did you know I love you so? I've got a girl and I call her so, and I knew that she loved me so. She went away.
Man.
Yes.
Sal, man. You can't be doing that to us, man. Getting us in, you know, in the mode we're grooving over here.
Yeah, you know that video scene, because it was a little off, you know what I mean? So, but that was a real live recording. So
Yeah, no.
I didn't do the Milli Vanilli back then.
No.
You know?
No, we wouldn't expect that coming from you. Matter of fact, I wanted to ask you, you know, what is the talent? How do you get to a point where you're drumming and singing at the same time? You know, we always think about breath control and what that means for an artist and a vocalist, but you're drumming and singing at the same time. I mean, what type of skill set, how long did it take you to get to be able to do that?
You know, I started singing. Phil Collins said it right. You know what I mean? The way he said it, and he goes, "I'm a drummer that sings. I'm not a." And I feel the same way, you know, because there's people that sing, man. It's like, wow, that's their instrument, you know. But I just mimic what I heard, you know, growing up and middle school and playing these records. I just sang along with it. I didn't think about it. I was just singing. I was going like, man, I love this music, and I'm just singing, and that's how I learned how to sing, and also singing harmonies to doo-wops. I love doo-wop stuff, man. You know, all the doo-wops. I love it. Everly Brothers, you know, you just name it, you know, the Coasters and all that, Philadelphia sound, you know, Stax Records. I mean, you just name it, man. Motown. incredible music, man. That's music that'll live on forever. And there were real musicians too, you know. It wasn't no auto tune. It wasn't, you know, uh, computers and stuff. It's all real music, and that's all I listen to, man. It's hard for me to you know, get on with the newer stuff. You know, it's okay. I don't, you know, rap music. I don't really get into rap music, and it's a whole different genre, you know. But if you tell me to, you know, hum a rap song and stuff, you might as well put a gun in my head because I can't.
Well, you know what? You do know a lot of other genres. You are very well versed in a variety of other genres. So it's okay if not every genre is sticking with you. But I mean, you talk about singing like it just is so easy, like it just comes. I mean, that just shows your talent and how gifted you are, especially in the music world. But speaking of talents, outside of the music world, you're also an actor, and you've acted in various television shows and films. You've been on Mars Attacks. You've even been on the George Lopez show, which with the George Lopez show, low rider, it's the whole intro with war. So what was that experience like?
You know, I forget because I've been doing some podcasts lately, and we never mentioned about the television stuff, and I'm going like, wow, you know, thank you for bringing it up because I wanted to say something about it, you know. And one of my first roles was I had a speaking role with Raquel Welch. You believe it or not.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a TV series with Edward James Olmos called La Familia, and I was an extra at the time, right? So we had the scene where we're in this serenading Raquel Welch. She was one of her boyfriends, her past boyfriends that came back in her life, and then we were just front yard playing. I was playing bongos. We had the band, and then the producer, the director goes, "Hey, we need somebody in the band for a speaking role." And me, I'm a jokester, man. I'm a clown, right?
Red nose and all, yes.
That's right. And I says, I'll do it. And he goes, yeah, everybody wants to be a star. And he gives me his little script, and he goes, read that, and I'll be back in about half hour. So I was reading the script, and he goes, okay, let's practice, before Raquel gets there, I says, okay, so I'm knocking the door. He says the script, and he's on the other side. And he goes, hey, man, you're pretty good for living. And I go, well, yeah, well, hook it up, man. But that was so cool, man, because, I mean, Raquel Welch, man, at that time, she was 66 years old, and she was still stunning, and such a nice person, too, because when I finally got to do the scene with her, I said, I was watching how the actors would do that. So they would rehearse the scene before they really start shooting. And I went up to her, Raquel, would you mind if we do this? We practice for now? Oh, for sure. And I'm going like, oh, God, I'm going like.
Starstruck a little. I love it.
Yeah, I know, but she was so nice. That was just one of them, and one of my highlights of my acting career. And and another one was Full House too. I was in Full House with John Stamos. John Stamos is a dear friend of mine, and in a couple of shows, couple of episodes there, and that was a blast. And of course, Mars Attacks was another one, and I was working with Tom Jones at the time.
Wow.
Yeah, back in the early '90s. I started branching off, and now I work with Tom Jones. And they were shooting Mars Attacks at the Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas, and Robert De Niro. I mean, there's so many people out there. Danny DeVito, and it has so many actors, and but it was great. Tim Burton was a great, one of the great directors. Beetlejuice, he does so many movies. But just to be in the scene with these people, I'm going like, wow. So my scene was we were playing at Caesar's Palace, and the Martians would come in and start zapping everybody. And then they said, well, okay, we're going to zap the conguero. I was playing congas back then, and they had a stunt double for me. And I said, I don't need no stinking stunt double. I would do my own skits, man, So I was on a rise, and they had a big mattress back there. So when they kind of made it, say, okay, there's a light there. So anytime they shine the light, then that's when you get zapped. And so, we're gonna zap the conga player now. So they zap me, and I jump back, right? and I land on this mattress, and then the whole band starts getting off the stage, and here I am trampling over me over.
How fun! So you do your
That
own
was-
stunts too. Add that to the list. Wow.
Yeah, that was cool, man. That was so fun, man. But just being backstage, hanging out with Danny DeVito and all these actors, I go, man, I felt like, a Mexican in Hollywood. Hey, man, moving on up. Cinco de Mayo, hello.
You are doing it. Now, is there a role or a film or a series that you would love to be a part of, that you would love to acting? What's a dream role for you?
Oh man, I would love to do that, man. If even a host on a TV show, man. So if there's any producers out there, hello.
There you go.
I would love to do that because I think that I'll be hitting home right there.
Yeah. Well, you
So
have
I-
that
I-
energy. You have that it
Oh, yeah.
factor, that spark, right?
Yeah, I just love it. I'm a big ham, when it comes. It's called a jamon in
I'm on.
Spanish.
I'm on.
I just love making people laugh, joy and but my dad was witty, my father, he passed away, but my dad was a clown, and I think that's where I get that humor, just sometimes I'll be driving on the car by myself and I'm laughing by myself. These crazy things.
Hey, you need it. Laughter fuels the soul, right?
That's it. That's
Yes,
it.
man, and I'm just so grateful that I'm still playing music and got to play with all these great players and opening up for all these great groups like Carlos Santana, Doobie Brothers, Alice Cooper, you name it, all these groups, Chicago, Tower Power, which I grew up listening to. Tower was one of my favorite all-time groups too. And now we're friends, I go to their dressing rooms. Grand Funk Railroad was big, huge. Grand Funk Railroad in the early 70s, man. They were like, to me, they were my Beatles at that time, And now getting to know these guys, I go to their trailer when we do shows together. They call me by my name. Hey, Sal, how you doing, man?
Have fun.
So, yeah, it's like, man, this is so cool, and I don't take it for granted because, I'm at that age in my life now. We're sliding third base, I tend to stay healthy, and all my curriculum days are over, if you know what I mean. But I'm so grateful, man, and working with all these groups and being friends with them now and still doing it. And I have the energy to do it. My wife, she tells me, it's like, man, how do you do it, man? You because this weekend we were LA County Fair. Right after that, we went straight to I came home for 2 hours and then went to the airport and then went to Kansas City and we played, and then we 2 o'clock in the morning get on the bus going to the airport, coming back home, and I slept more on the plane than in the hotel.
Yeah. Well, how that brings me to my question of just how have you been able to, throughout these decades, kind of balance all of that? Because you're a father, you're a husband, and you have other personal things going on top of touring. So how have you been able to manage all of that?
Now you come to a point in your life where you have to make decisions, and my decision, because growing up as you start dabbling and I'm going to go here. Stop dabbling in alcohol and other things and thinking that's normal. Hey, John Bonham, every Keith Moon, everybody's doing it. So that's what we do is rock and roll guys. You know what I mean? We start dabbling into alcohol and other things and thinking that's normal. It becomes a curriculum, a habit, and then it becomes an addiction. So well, I'm just so grateful right now, and I'm so grateful and happy to say that I have 14 years now completely sober and abstinence from any kind of drugs or alcohol.
Bravo to you. That is a
Amazing.
huge, huge accomplishment. Good for you.
Amazing.
And I work it. I work the program. I do AA and I speak at different places. I speak in meetings and stuff like that. It keeps me grounded, and it keeps you. It's more than just being sober. It teaches you things in life, how to manage life in life's terms. Without any kind of suppression. Addition to this body,
Yeah, you're clear. You're clear now. Yeah.
clear-minded, and it helps, man. And it really, with my with my marriage, with my relationship with my kids, and it just really came together. And walking back, I'm back in church, walking with the Lord, and uh,
That's
just
awesome.
just loving it, man. And, I don't push it to want people, you just who you are. You know what I mean? That's it. You live by example,
Yeah.
and if they ask me questions, and then I'll answer them. I'm candid about everything, so it's about that testimony, how I was in the past and how I am now, and it's not, it's, I don't take it for granted, and it's just grateful, gratitude, not attitude, and one day at a time. And that keeps me going with the music. And I'll let you know something. Last night, I got about an hour's sleep after
Wow.
the concert last night. I mean, the thing with Andy Vargas and people there and sitting in and singing Cinco de Mayo and people. And I came home and I started mixing because I'm doing this other music. And it was like already 5 o'clock in the morning. I go, man, I got to go to bed.
Oh, well, we're so glad you were able to get at least an hour to join us
Yeah,
today.
yeah.
Yeah, I did. I got an hour's sleep,
There you go.
So,
Wow.
so if I fall asleep,
We're getting to the Sal.
no, no.
Sal. Okay, there he is. He's back. He's back.
That's
so,
amazing.
but yeah, I mean, there's just that's the energy. Watching my diet, watching what I
Yeah.
do, and just giving back. I think that really helps me in life. It's just not just being sober, but just being a different person, a better human being, trying to be the light, and the salt of the earth, and just one day at a time. Gratitude, man, and I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, you're doing all the right
Cool.
things.
I love that. I love that. Sal, one of my favorite things that I didn't even realize how much of a deep connection that you have with it is also the George Lopez show. We were talking about acting and of course, speaking about music and war. How did it come together with you, your appearances on the show as well as them using the background? Did one come first? Did they decide to use the music first? Was it, you were casted on it first? And then how did that all come together and specifically why that song? Do you know, can you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah. They decided to use the music first. George Lopez is a friend of mine, and we went to the same high school, San Fernando High School.
Oh, wow.
And he graduated. I didn't graduate. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, you had me stop like, oh. I did.
Oh. No, but we went to the same high school. Richie Valens went to San Fernando High School. Charles White, Anthony Davis, Heisman Trophy winners, and
Yeah.
It's that high school has some history. But George went to that school too, so from the same neighborhood, San Fernando, Silmar, so we became friends too. So that's how we got on there too, not just because of me, but but every time I see George, hey, he's always cool, says hello, man. I gotta hand it to him, man. That guy's our modern day Ricky Ricardo, whether you like him or not, and there's nobody done this day for Latino what he has done, syndication, and he's still doing it, man. He's still out there, and he's a cool guy. I like George. He's cool people, man. He's a funny guy.
Yeah.
It's an honor because I used to do these fundraisers at school, San Fernando. I used to do comedy concert jams. I used to have war. I produced all that stuff, raise money for my high school, for my alma mater, and they'll fill up the auditorium, 1,200 people, and I had comedy night. And I asked George to come one day, and he came.
Oh,
10
wow.
Yeah, he was busy, and he goes, I can only be there 10 minutes. I'll take it. But I had a lot of local comedians. I had War. I had, Tierra, El Chicano, Brenton Wood. Remember Brenton Wood, Oogum Boogum?
Amazing.
But rest in peace. He just passed away. But I had all these groups and just giving back to the community,
Yeah.
and doing that for the school. And
Yeah, it's huge. You've been giving back a lot from AA to what you've been doing fundraising in the community. It really is quite something. And then from your entire story, what you have done musically, it really is something to look up to. So we just want to thank you for taking the time, especially on little sleep, to come and chat with us this morning. And I just have to know, are you guys coming to New York? Hey, one more second. Are you guys coming to New York at all? Because we would love to see you guys. Or where's your next stop?
The next stop is San Antonio. We're doing some festival out there, and but we got a busy schedule. We're pretty busy schedule this summer. We're going to Europe and Canada and a bunch of places, and so just one day at a time. Just look at the website, and I'm sure we're going to be out there sometime soon. We were there, I think earlier this year.
Oh, nice.
We did. Yeah, we were in New York. We did Fox Television outside. It was pretty cool.
Perfect.
And, yeah, and got to walk around the city again, which I love New York.
Yeah.
And,
There you go.
yeah, so when we're out there, I'll let you guys know.
Perfect. And we have a lot of viewers out in Texas. So guys, definitely go check out Ward, check out Sal out in San Antonio. We do have the website linked and also your personal Instagram there. So once again, thank you, Sal Rodriguez, for being here. So appreciate it. Thank you. And go and get some much needed sleep. All right. Yes.
God bless you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Sal. All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break and we have more of the show when we return, so don't go anywhere.